Every 6 minutes in Canada, a car is stolen. In Ontario, it's every 48 minutes. This isn't just a statistic. It is a reality that I, like nearly 9,000 Ontarians, have faced this year. Recently, my car was stolen in broad daylight. I was heading to my daughter's gym class in Mississauga. We pulled into the parking lot completely unaware of the two men in an SUV trailing us. And I've been told it is strongly suspected they had been tracking my patterns for days. It was all caught on security camera. They parked right beside me, waiting for us to step out, and within minutes, they had used a wireless device to breach our car, ignite the engine, and drive away. My daughter, only 5, glancing out the window at the time, alerted me, "Mom, our car is moving." We helplessly watched it unfold in real time. For 16 minutes, I tracked my car's location before the thieves finally disabled my GPS tracker. Pleading with the police to send an officer, I was met with, "That's not how this works." 18 hours later, a constable in Peel finally opened my report. By then, my car was as good as gone. And I couldn't help but wonder why there felt to be such an apathy towards the loss and destruction of personal property at the hands of what was clearly organized crime. Why couldn't they dispatch an officer to intercept the car and catch the thief in the act? Are the resources not there? Are we underfunding our police? I'll put it to the panel, and I'll start with you. Help me to make sense of this.
I think you said it correctly. Without me actually being able to see what happened on that individual day, there's only so many resources that are out there, and the way we manage it is we identify and prioritize calls at that given point in time. And I'm not belittling or demeaning your theft vehicle. Obviously, it's very traumatic to you. And
no, I get that. And I don't want this to sound like a personal woe, but
right.
It's, you know, I didn't wake up to my car having disappeared. Mm-hmm. I watched it happen. I could tell the officer it's going south on Southdown. I know exactly where it is. I'm tracking it. Go get these guys. Isn't that the goal, to catch someone in the act?
100% it is, yes. Not only to catch them in the act, but maybe to identify their network and where the vehicles are going, how they're being shipped, how they're leaving Canada. There's a lot of different elements that come into play, but...
And fair enough. And Marcell, you have firsthand experience with trafficking vehicles. How does it work, and how many guys are there in this system making it happen?
It's definitely an entry-level crime. So obviously there are organized groups behind these people that are on the ground stealing cars, motivated by money. And usually there's like a disconnect. The guys at the ground level that are stealing vehicles are usually approached through someone they know, a connection or whatever. And this person is sort of a middle person. And they'll exploit things like the Youth Criminal Justice Act, because they know that young people, less time, it's looked at as a minor crime, hence your frustration. And, we knew once upon a time that the, police wouldn't pay as much attention to it as, let's say, a violent crime. So it's a gateway crime in a sense, and it's appealing to a young person. It could even be thrilling, and it's a way to kind of prove yourself, to move up in rank, get respect, earn respect, and then that obviously can lead to other crimes.
And that feeds into all of this, because if these guys think that will get merely a slap on the wrist if they're even caught, because as I understand, it's even hard to lay charges unless you catch them in the act.
Well, I mean, there are people who are charged with theft of motor vehicles, and if they're youth, they're dealt under the Youth Criminal Justice Act. But you have to be careful, because we don't want to take a 16 or 17-year-old, or even younger necessarily, and then treat them like an adult and then set them up for all sorts of failure in the future. Because you've got an opportunity when they're under 18 to try and make a difference. And if you take a more holistic approach and treat them, for those of us who have kids, like, their minds aren't going to be complete for a while. And, I love my 23-year-old, but we're getting there. And, we need to treat youth like youth, and we need to have special ways of dealing with them. And I think the criminal justice system does a pretty good job about trying to intervene when they have them and work with them. The problem is you have to get to a crime to try and get that intervention. Mm-hmm. But leaving that aside, there clearly is a high financial motivation for these crimes. I mean, this is organized crime behind it because they're putting them on containers. They get to either side of this country. They're not, searched by whatever inspectors are there, and then they're off to these foreign countries where they're offloaded and there's connections to them. So this is a serious organized crime situation, and we have vehicles also that are like, the technology to get into them now is like nothing.
Yeah. Let me ask you, what is the most severe penalty you've been able to obtain for car trafficking?
For car trafficking itself, it's very minimal, to be honest. Like, you'd be lucky if we get any criminal time at all. Like, we know that our counterparts in Quebec are getting like a really good sentence, could be 2 years. But it's challenging at times even to have an appetite to prosecute, because with the courts the way they are right now, that are backlogged because of COVID still, and they're still trying to work through that. Well, now you've got nonviolent crime, and because we do put a fair amount of arrested parties, and I do agree with you to a certain degree with that early intervention with them. However, when we're dealing with the same person 3, 4, 5 times, and they beat us home at night.
Yeah, so if I can just say this, so from my perspective, when you do get to a trial of somebody who's more senior up in one of these organized crime units with respect to theft of cars, you are looking at jail. I mean, it's not going to be a slap on the wrist. But I'm going to say this, our court systems are stressed. And if you have somebody who's running a trial on 2 or 3 thefts of vehicles, that is going to take low priority to the homicide trials and to other trials. And why is that? That's because we don't have enough judges.
Sure.
That's because nobody from the government has decided to invest in the support staff that's at 10 Armory Street that just got built. It's a beautiful building and the paint is quite nice, but there's no staff. So when our governments want to talk tough on crime and they talk about, I know it's coming later, bail reform, they don't bother putting in the resources. Police are underfunded. Police officers are dealing with disclosure requests. They have to put all these packages together, send them off to a Crown attorney. Sometimes it takes a long time. So they don't have support staff. We're lacking clerks in the courts. The Superior Court has been lacking judges for years, and our federal government hasn't bothered to appoint. They just appointed 3 recently who went to work the day they were appointed, but we don't have enough judges and we don't have enough infrastructure.
All right, hold that thought. We'll be right back. Don't go away.